Two shows occurred on the same day, and that was Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania Night 1. And I'm here to talk about those two and why they should be compared because they're both on the same day. So I'm just going to go over a short review, and we're starting with Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver was honestly just fun. The women's number one contendership for the tag team championships, and honestly, it was when Roxanne Perez turned heel on Cora Jade, which honestly, I think they're going for a heel versus face sort of dynamic. But in the end, I forgot Gigi Dolan and her team take the victory. And moving on to the North American Championship, Ricky Sanks defending against Ethan Page. I think this was a pretty solid match for what it was. I think that Ricky put up a good, hard victory for his North American Championship. Ethan Page coming short in the end. Moving on to NXT Tag Team Championship match, which was Hank and Tank, I think, versus Axiom, Fraser, Axiom together. And this match rocked for what it was. This was a great as hell tag team match. This was just fun from start to finish. And I'm going to say this again. Those two deserve their freaking best pats on the back from management, from literally carrying the NXT Tag Team division. Both their runs in NXT with the tag team belts have been great from start to finish, and this is no exception. And we move on to the Fatal 5-Way for the NXT Women's Championship. And like any Fatal 5-Way, it was so much chaos and so much fun. I think the Hypnotics, the backbreaker finisher, honestly, it was just a whole lot of fun. I think for a lot of the match, it was mainly, I feel like Jada definitely deserves some of the praise because I think in the last few comings of it, she really was the MVP of the whole show. But in the end, it doesn't matter because Stephanie Valkyrie ended up taking her down and pinning her to retain her NXT Women's Championship in the end. And speaking of NXT Championships, we have the main event, which is the part I want to talk about the most, which was Obafemi versus Trick Williams versus Javon Evans. And might I add, this triple threat match, I honestly think, in my opinion, if you had to pick between the triple threat match at Mania and the triple threat match at Stand and Deliver and WrestleMania Night 1, I would probably pick the triple threat at Stand and Deliver. I just felt like this triple threat match was a lot more, not fair, but a lot more heavy on the action than most things. And for what it was, I do think that I didn't like the finish of it. I do think that they should have sold it a bit more. And all in all, that was a good triple threat match. And to cap off that show was awesome. And we have WrestleMania Night 1, Jimmy Uso taking on Gunther, and I am already going to not be on this for long because I don't want to be disliked the bomb too. So I'm just gonna say Jay defeated Gunther and leave it at that. Move on to Grand Americano taking on Rey Fenix. Honestly, this match could have been better, but honestly could have went on just a bit much. But I do think the middle plate wasn't really needed. Grand Americano could have took him down, Rey Fenix, just without it, but in the end he ends up winning. And we move on to Tiffy Time versus Queen Time. Charlotte Flair taking on Tiffany Stratton for the championship. Now, I'm going to be honest, I really wish that this match could have been a bit more personal. Some attacks were a bit more unscripted. But, all in all, I think this was a pretty solid women's championship match for what it was. I don't think it was too bad. There was a lot of focus on the legs and limbs from Stratton and Charlotte, which they could have sold some offense a bit more, but that's just me. But all in all, I do think that the finishing closings of the match was all pretty well done. Tiffany with the prettiest moonsault ever, and cementing herself as a big deal in this business, and Charlotte giving her approval, even though I secretly wanted her to not do that in the very end. But moving on to the Raw Tag Team Championship match against Viking Raiders and New Day. Now, I will admit this match was to some extent a bit of a bland match. Could have been picked up during the ends of it. New Day as new Raw Tag Team Champions could somewhat be interesting since they have a new heel arc, and I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. But without further ado, the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. That both double betrayals was something I genuinely did not expect. And I think that makes what makes the triple threat so much more impacting. But aside from that moment, the rest of the match was honestly pretty fun. I mean, yeah, there was like finisher spamming, like 2 GTSs, and there were like at some points in the match where, okay, you really shouldn't have kicked out of those finishers. Like you've been hit with 2 of them, 3 finishers, and you're still like in the match. Like, what's going on? But in the end, a sly but very controlled Seth Rollins pins Roman Reigns from the assists from Paul Heyman, and honestly, that would be the way the Shield would have invented WrestleMania, if only. I think both pay-per-views, both Night 1 and Stand to Deliver, stand in a good light for me. See what I did there? I know I'm very funny. But I do think if I had to go with one of the shows for me, or on which one I picked to watch more, I would probably go with Stand and Deliver, if I'm being honest. Night 1 for me didn't really bring much to me, but that's a whole other different story for Night 2, however. But that's for another video. But until then, check out my videos. STARZ Unite.